Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We have a very important person in Ballet International. Her name is Madame Stephanie Herman. In this moment, she is in the United States. She has been working a lot in Europe. She has been a ballet dancer. She has been artistic director. She has been a ballet teacher. And she's a brilliant artist of the world of ballet. So as you see, dear Ballet International members, at this time, I brought you the best of the best that we could ever expect. You are welcome, Mrs. Stephanie Herman. How are you doing?
Hi, Jean-Pierre. Thank you so much for inviting me. And hello, Ballet International and all the people of the world. I'm so happy to be here today. And
I think that, like me, many other people will be happy to watch your interview, because I think that what you are going to say is going to be very interesting.
thank you very much.
So
I'm sure you want to know how this all started.
Yes. How did you start ballet when you were a child?
So I was the youngest of 4 children. My mother used to be a concert pianist. And so I grew up with classical music all the time being played on our baby Steinway piano grand. And I felt the music in my soul. I really did. And my siblings were athletic, and they used to come to me and say, "Oh, Stephanie, look, I can do a back bend." And I went, "Oh, I want to do that." So I tried and I got to do the back bend. Then another sibling came and said, "Look, I can do all of this with my arms." And I'm like, "Oh, I want to do it. I want to do it." And I tried and I did it. And then my other sister said, "I can do a split." And I tried and I did it. So I started realizing that I was very into my body and the gymnastics of trying to figure out how to put my body in different positions, and also the love of music. So when I was 12 years old, I was going to junior high school, didn't have ballet yet. And I was in a room of 100 teenagers sweating. And my gym teacher comes over to me as we're doing crunches and says, "Would you like to be in our after school ballet group?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know how to do ballet." And she said, "That doesn't matter, just come." So I was like, okay. So I came to the group and I saw Erica, this girl. She went on point and she did a pirouette. And I was like, "Wow, how did you do that?" And then she said, "I learned that from the School of American Ballet, which is George Balanchine's school." And I went home and I told my mom, "I want to go to School of American Ballet." And my mom took me to the audition and I got in. And little did I know that that was probably one of the best schools in the world. So that started my whole ballet career.
You were so lucky. You were so lucky to join the Balanchine school. And did you study also with Mr. Balanchine, or you never?
Well, during the School of American Ballet, you were in 7 years classes, and you go to different levels each time. And by the time I was at the end level, you either got in the company or you didn't get in the company. And Balanchine during those 7 years would come in and watch classes and then maybe take a dancer into the company. And he didn't take me. And I felt very sad because all my friends were getting in the company and I didn't. So one day, Patricia Neary, if you know Patricia Neary, used to be principal dancer with New York City Ballet and great career, director of the Scala, and Canadian and lots of companies. She watched me in class and she said, would you be interested in going to Geneva Ballet Company? And I said, okay. She said, well, I'm going to let the director, Alfonso Cotta, know about you. And I said, okay, I like class. And 3 people come to watch that class. And after class, the director of the School of American Ballet calls me into her office and says, Stephanie, you were just chosen for 3 ballet companies, Australian Ballet, Canadian Ballet, and Geneva Ballet. And I chose Geneva Ballet because that was George Balanchine's second company. And he would go there for vacation and work with the company. He gave his ballets to the company. He would come and work with the company. So I did, and I joined the ballet company.
That is nice.
Sorry, I have something in my eye here, so I'm just going to take it out. Okay. So I went to the ballet company, and it was absolutely wonderful. And I was there for 3 years, and George Balanchine would come and he would work directly with me, and it was like a dream come true. But we weren't performing enough, and I felt like I wanted more. So I was thinking, well, maybe I should quit and go back to New York and audition for New York City Ballet again. So I went to the director's office to tell him I was quitting, but he was. And in rehearsal, we had Todd Bullender, who was working with us on Showboat, and I was the lead. And then I started questioning, well, maybe I should questioning and rehearsing. I slipped on the floor, fell, and tore the ligaments in my knee.
Oh.
Yeah. And so I went to the doctor and they put a cast on from my ankle to my thigh, which was, I've got very long legs, so it was 3 feet. And I decided, well, I'll go back to New York, I'll do rehab, and then I'll audition. So I went back to New York and I did rehab. And after rehab, I discovered Pilates. And I started working with the first disciple of Joseph Pilates, who was Carola Trier. And when she started working with me, she actually made me stronger than I was before my injury. And then I was like, I was ready. And I forgot to tell everybody, I'm very tall. I'm 5'9". So on point, I'm 6 feet. And that's probably why I had a difficult time getting into the ballet company because of my height. It's hard to get into the corps de ballet when you're starting, when you're taller than the corps.
Yeah.
So now I was doing solo roles with the Geneva Ballet, and now I was considered a soloist. So I thought maybe it'd be easier to get into company now that Carola Trier made me stronger than I was before. And I started auditioning for the different companies, and I was still tall, and I wasn't getting in this time because they didn't have a male dancer tall enough to work with me that was a principal dancer. So then
I presume that when you were on point, you were much taller than the boys.
Yeah. So I heard that Patricia Neary took over the Geneva Ballet and that they were doing more performances. So I called up Patricia Neary and I said, I'm interested in coming back. And she said, love to have you. I'll give you a soloist contract. And I went to Geneva. And this time it was absolutely true. We were performing more. Balanchine was coming more often. I started getting principal roles. I was dancing the Pas de Deux of Agon, Bugaku, Symphony in C, Second Movement, all these great roles that I always dreamt of doing. So my dream was coming true. And after a couple of years, Pat Neary took over the Zurich Ballet Company. and hold on a second, the dogs might bark. You know, they've been good. Okay. Zurich Ballet. And I started doing the principal roles in Zurich Ballet, and everything was wonderful. So I toured the world. And then one day, Pat Neary said Rudolf Nureyev was going to be coming to perform Manfred, one of his pieces that he choreographed for the Paris Opera. And he'll be coming and choosing some of the dancers in the company to dance the role with him. So we were very excited, you know, because when I was younger, I went to see him and Margot Fontaine dance, and here I am, the possibility that I might be dancing with the master. So I'm in ballet class and he walks in, and I'm doing my tendus and I'm doing my développés at the bar. And I don't know, but my heart was feeling a connection with Nureyev. And I turned and I looked at him, and we were looking at each other as I was doing my
like if you were talking to each other just with the look and with the mind.
Right. And I thought, well, maybe I'm like imagining this, you know. And so after class, the casting for Manfred went up, and he picked me to be his mother in Manfred. So I thought, well, you know, maybe there was some kind of connection there. So Nureyev was going to perform Manfred with the Paris Opera House after he choreographed it, but then he got injured, so he never got the chance to perform it. So he was very happy working with the Zurich Ballet, so he could perform it also. And one day in rehearsal, he and Pat were sitting next to each other, and he said, I'm going to re-choreograph the mother piece for you. It's not going to be the same as I did with Paris Opera, because I feel you can dance more than the dancer in the Paris Opera, who was just a walk-on. I'm going to give you double pirouette into penché and all these different things. And Pat Neary said, double pirouette into a penché is almost impossible. He says, no, she do it. And he said to me, go, you do it. And I did a double pirouette into a penché. And he said, okay, that stays, that's in the choreography. So the thing about Manfred that was so wonderful being his mother was that connection we had really came alive on stage. Yeah. And it was like the audience disappeared, and it was him and I, and he's supposed to do something that makes me angry, and I'm supposed to get very angry. Yeah. And he runs to me for forgiveness, and he hugs me. And I just feel we are so like, I'm his mother, he's my child, but he's not. And we're so connected.
He made you leave the character of the ballet role at the full movie.
Yes. And so what happens is, this happens several times, that I get angry and he runs to forgiveness, but I finally die of a heart attack. But I come back as a ghost. And as this ghost, he has me do these double pirouette, double piqué, grand jeté off the stage and things like that. And it was really great dancing with him during that role. And that was one of the roles we've danced. We also did Don Quixote, yeah. And I was the lead of Spanish. And it was very funny because the Spanish dancer doesn't have a big role, but it's, you know, it's a principal dancer. And at the end, when the audience applauded, he looked at me like, how come you're getting so many applause for this short? So it was kind of cute. And then he really wanted to dance a Balanchine piece. So he was going to do a pas de trois in Agon. And I was doing the pas de deux in Agon. And it's not like we're dancing together. Chrissy's dancing with two other girls, and then I dance the pas de deux. And we go to Athens, Greece to perform it. And in Athens, Greece, they loved him, And when it came to the final bows where everybody came out, he came out, the audience loved him. And then my partner and I came out, and the audience went wild. And he looked at me like, what's going on here? And I just like that with my shoulders up. But we had a really, really lovely connection,
Yeah.
And one time when I was on stage rehearsing, he says to me in his Russian accent, he goes, "What size your boats?" And I go, "Excuse me?" And he says, "What size your boats?" I go, "What are you talking about?" And he's pointing to my toe shoes. I said, "Are you talking about my feet?" He goes, "Yes." I said, "Why are you calling them boats?" He says, "Because they're big and I want big shoes for my feet. I want them." And so I thought a while and I go, I've got an idea. I can autograph my toe shoes and give it to you in exchange for you autographing your ballet slippers and giving it to me. And he looks like he's angry and he thinks for a moment and he goes, "Okay, you go to my dressing room later. My masseuse, he give you the shoes." So later, I autograph my toe shoes and I give it to the masseuse. The masseuse has his torn apart ballet slippers that are signed. And the masseuse says, "I don't know what you did. He has never given his shoes away. He does not give his ballet slippers away." And I just felt so special.
How was Nureyev as a partner in dance, and how was he as a choreographer or as a teacher, coach with people, with the dancers in general? But also, how was he behaving with you? Did he have a special treatment to you?
I think he did, and I'm not quite sure why. My mother is from Russian descent, from Kiev, and I don't know if we felt this connection.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because I was Balanchine trained and he was in awe of Balanchine training, but he treated me with such respect. And there were some people he did not treat with respect. And I felt honored. So like when he choreographed for me and he said, "I want you to do whatever the choreography step is," I felt he cared about me and I felt he believed in me. And I trusted that if he thought I could do it, I could do it. Yeah. So that was, I think, my special bond with him. Yeah. But some people, if he did not like them, he was kind of mean. Yeah. So
maybe he saw in you a certain quality of the technique. So maybe, you gave him more confidence. This is why he was looking at you with a different eye that he was looking to other people. Because maybe the way that you and your style of dance, your technique was different from the others. And but you couldn't notice that on yourself. But he made you notice that thanks to his work, thanks to his quality of choreographer, of coach. And this is why he trusted you so much.
Yeah.
I think. And
I also think, he was not afraid to show his emotion on stage, and I was not either. So I feel like one of the specialties that helped me become a principal dancer is the combination of the technique with showing the emotion together.
Yeah. Well, emotions are very important in ballet.
Yes.
Especially when you are on stage and, in everything. Even if you work in a ballet studio, you cannot dance without emotions.
Some people do, though. Some people, so right now I have a wellness program for dancers who are injured. And I educate them how to get out of certain compensation patterns
Mm,
and teach them about the anatomy in movement through the skeleton, not just the muscles, but the skeleton. And I also help coach them in allowing their emotions and their technique, which is kind of like left brain, right brain,
yeah,
melding together. And sometimes I notice that because certain ballet companies want such great technique, then sometimes the technique or wanting to be great in the technique takes over.
mm,
And people, dancers sometimes are fearful in trusting that the technique and the emotion come together, and they
yeah.
focus only on the technique.
They go on parallel line, the technique and the emotions. Uh,
Right. It's a
so,
double yellow line you can't
yes.
cross.
So, just a little question. You have been working with Balanchine, then you also have been working with Nureyev, and you have been working with Patricia Neary. Three different characters, three different disciplines, three different authorities of dance. Now, of these three, is there a connection, similarity of the way to work, the way of presenting the things, the way to talk, the way to explain to the dancers? Were they the same, or even if they had different characters?
So I can answer that question. I felt Patricia Neary was trained with Balanchine, so she had fabulous technique. And what I loved about her as a coach and a teacher was, first of all, she gave fabulous classes. Like every single class was fabulous, never a dud. And a good class is really great. And she demanded a lot. She demanded excellence. And I think she pushed me in a good way to succeed beyond what I even could imagine. Now, Balanchine, I think, was more reserved in his words, but also demanded 250% without saying as much. And when I worked with him, I felt again I could do it. You know, it was like if he said, you know, I want you to do this, like, okay, I'm going to do it. And then he'd either say, well, now leg higher, you know, and I, okay, leg higher, you know. Neither one of them really talked about the emotions or how to what I was doing right or wrong with my emotion. And I guess maybe it's because they just trusted that was coming from my soul. And it wasn't like an acting coach who would say, okay, well, now I want you to be more reserved, or now I want you to give more, or now I this or that. So I guess I felt that they trusted that part of me.
Yeah.
Then there was Rudolf Nureyev, which I felt like he didn't have to say many words to me, that I just felt whatever he said, he believed I could do it. And because he believed I could do it,
Yes.
I just did it. So the similarity of the three of them is excellence. They all wanted technical excellence. And I think Nureyev wanted the emotion more, maybe. Not that he was asking for it, but because he was emotional,
Yeah.
I could go there. And
Yeah.
the two of us, just there was no boundaries.
Yes.
no boundaries. It was just, yeah.
And have you been working at the Royal Opera House in England?
And I wish I was.
But you
No,
never made
I came,
audition.
I know I was with Geneva Ballet and I was Zurich Ballet, and then I was getting older and time to move on. And when I was ready to quit, I was in New York, and this was in 1986. And I was thinking, okay, I'm getting older and I have time to move on. And I was in ballet class, and Marcus Galante was a dancer and a choreographer. And he said to me, where are you performing? I said, oh, I'm trying to quit. And he said, you can't quit. I go, no, I do. I'm trying to quit. And he goes, you can't quit. You're too good. You can't quit. I'm going to choreograph something for you. And I said, well, okay. So he choreographs this pas de deux for me, and we perform it in New York. And the New York Times puts, I might have, my puppies are going to maybe bark soon.
No worries, no worries.
I've got 2 puppies, but they're not barking yet. Okay, so we performed 2 nights. The New York Times gave me a good review, and we had one more performance, and this other soloist gets injured.
Oh.
And she didn't have an understudy, and I had an understudy. So Marcus said, please learn her piece overnight and perform it. So I learned her piece overnight, and she happened to be very good at back bends. So he choreographed many back bends for her. And I think my body was not ready for those back bends. And after the performance, I could not even stand. I was in such pain. So I went to the doctor, and the doctor said, you have 4 discs protruding, and
Wow.
we need to send you to the hospital for 10 days. I said, I don't want to go to the hospital for 10 days. I said, okay, well then you go home, have somebody take care of you, crawl to the bathroom, take anti-inflammation pills and cortisone for 10 days, don't move, and let's see how you feel. So 10 days later, I'm moving a little bit, but I still have pain. And so for a year and a half, I was in such bad pain, I couldn't sit at all. I had to lie down or stand up. I went to physical therapists. I went to doctors. Finally, they wanted to send me to a pain management clinic because nothing was healing. And, that was very depressing for me.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do. So I started working with Julio Horvath of the Gyrotonics Expansion System. Have you ever heard of that?
No, I presume that she must be Hungarian. Horvath. She's from Hungary.
Yes.
No.
Yes. And it's kind of like Pilates, except it focuses the machinery on more circular movements, where I think Pilates was more parallel and linear. And so I started working with him, and he said, I think I can cure your back. So I said, okay. And so I had him over for dinner one night, and his girlfriend and he and I were drinking wine, and I had enough wine, and I said, okay, you can try to do your magic on me if you want. I've had enough wine. And he takes his fist and he bangs my back, and I saw stars. And I said, thank you very much. I said goodbye. And the next morning I had no back pain.
Oh.
But my knee was killing me. So then I had to deal like a year and a half with knee pain. And I didn't know how to cure it, and the doctors didn't know how to cure it. And I didn't know what to do. So I finally found a magical physical therapist who's decided that I had to work my knee in a certain position to strengthen it. And after 1 month, all the pain was gone. So at that point, I decided I'm going to help others heal now that I know so much about the body. And that's when I started the Pilates Ballet wellness program that I do.
And you keep doing this at the moment, at present time.
Yeah, that and other things. I am finishing my memoir right now.
Yes.
And you can't take the performer out of the performer.
Yes.
So at the age of 67, I decided I wanted to do a performance. And so I had this idea of doing a one-woman show, and I went to this theater and I spoke to the director of the theater and I said, I've got a great idea. I want to do the show about this older ballerina telling her story of her lifetime as a ballerina.
There's a beautiful video I have seen about you that I really like it very much.
Thank you. Thank you. So the director said, fine, let's do it. I signed the contract, walked away. It was supposed to be in 3 months that I had to do this. I was like, I don't have a script. I don't have choreography. I don't have music. I don't have a set design. What am I going to do? So those were very hard 3 months trying to figure out how to put this together. And I finally put it together. And it was a sold out performance and standing ovation. And it was filmed and we won 8 film festival awards for it.
Wow, that's nice.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to see it, it's Ballerina, a one-woman play, and you could find it on YouTube.
Excellent. So I wish really that all members of Ballet International can watch this video. Because
Yes.
I have seen it and it's really beautiful, really nice.
Thank you. So that inspired me to write my memoir. And so right now I've written my memoir and it's with an editor right now. And hopefully next year it will come out. I'm thinking right now the title might be Soar, a dancer's leap through time.
Beautiful title.
Thank you.
So it's like a biography that you're writing of yourself, or is it?
There's a difference between an autobiography and a memoir. An autobiography starts with when you were born till the present time.
Yes.
A memoir kind of focuses more on a certain part of your life. And that certain part of my life was me as a woman in the ballet world, and searching to make my dreams come true.
Yes. And
through injuries and everything.
Yes, and if I may ask, what were the difficult roles that you find difficult technically, that you were wondering if you would be able to do it, because sometimes it happens to all dancers to have a variation or, a pas de deux, something that they are a little bit more weak in some parts and more strong in others. So what were those kind of dances that you had to struggle a little bit and you were a little bit anxious during the performance?
Well, I remember when Aleaxandra Danilova came to teach us Cinderella, and she put me in the role of Summer. And there was some technical pieces that I don't remember what they were, either balances or turns, but something that I just couldn't get. And she would get upset with me in rehearsal and try to say, you must do this. And I was so tentative and I felt like, oh, she probably doesn't like me in this role and I'm probably lousy in this role. And so opening night, I go out and I'm shaking and I'm so nervous. Am I ever going to be able to do those balances? And it was very slow and controlled. And I went out and I did it. And, I wasn't the lead, I was just one of the soloists, Summer. And the next day when the newspaper came out with the reviews, the picture of me of doing Summer was on the front cover. And I couldn't believe it, you know. And then luckily, in about a couple of days, the woman who was the fairy godmother broke her foot. And so Danilova said, "You do fairy godmother, and I'm going to put somebody else into summer."
Oh, yeah, yeah,
And no, it was good because the fairy godmother just did leaps across the stage. And
yeah.
I loved it. I didn't have that technique anxiety. I was just flying.
You were free. You
I
completely
was
free.
free, yes. Plus, I got my picture in the paper. So,
So, how was Aleaxandra Danilova as a teacher?
you know, I think everybody takes their teachers differently.
Yeah,
And she was a very good teacher. But I think that I was self-conscious that she might not like me. And sometimes I think ballerinas get into their heads and they kind of stay in their head because it's not like you can communicate with your teacher as
yeah,
well, you know, to say, oh, I'm feeling sensitive. Do you like me? You know,
yes, yes,
but it was just my internal feeling, and I don't know
yeah,
why I had that feeling.
yeah,
So I never felt as comfortable.
yeah.
But she was a good teacher, and you know, she got me doing some good stuff because she was one of my ballet teachers at the School of American Ballet.
She was completely different from Nureyev type of person.
Right. And I think half of it is chemistry, or you know, I mean, Danilov and I are both Scorpios. I don't know. A Scorpio and a Scorpio. Oh my God. Is he a Capricorn?
About Rudolf Nureyev, he was really, he was Russian, but when he was speaking English, he kept his Russian accent in his English.
Yes. Well,
So
you know, it's
that
hard to take
made
that
of
away.
that made of him a very unique person, because when he was speaking in English, you could identify him from miles away. He didn't have the pure English accent.
It was charming.
What do you remember the best of Nureyev?
Well, I remember when I was 16 years old and I went to see him perform Romeo and Juliet, and the way he leaped from the top of the wings, not the middle, but the top of the wings, as if somebody threw him out of a cannon and just let him fly through the air. And it was just like, wow. And the turns and his emotions, and then the chemistry between Margot Fontaine and him in Romeo and Juliet was just so magical.
There was
Uh,
a great feeling in dance between Margot Fontaine and Nureyev also, I think.
yes.
So
Yeah,
this is why they were a special figure for the entire world of ballet.
yes. Yeah, I mean, I think even in when you see a movie and you
Yes,
see two actors that have good chemistry together, it's
yes,
not acting anymore. It's real.
it's real.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
Have you been teaching in ballet companies?
So my focus with ballet companies is more my Pilates ballet wellness program. And that's more like a physical therapist for the dancers, even though I'm not a physical therapist. But the way I look at the body is understanding it as a dancer, both intellectually and kinesthetically, and also emotionally, being able to talk to the dancers because I understand how much they want to get back into being better. And sometimes teaching them the process of healing might be longer than they expect it to be because they want it done like in an hour. It might take 6 hours. But I feel that's my magic for the dancers of how I can give back to the dancers. And yeah.
Do you think that it would be a good, how do you say, introduction for ballet companies to introduce the technique of Pilates and, postural gym or this type of discipline, new discipline in ballet companies of today? Because not all ballet companies are applying this, especially in Italy, in France. But I think it would be a good thing for ballet dancers to avoid injuries, to know, to discover a little bit more their bodies.
I totally agree. Pilates is great. I think the reason why I created the trademark of Pilates Ballet by Stephanie Herman is I feel I go beyond Pilates and I educate dancers a new way of understanding their body. Sometimes I don't think dancers understand the way the bones work in the socket when it's in movement. And I love to educate dancers on the way the spiraling of the bones work in different sockets because it helps in their technique. And so, especially if they're injured, it'll help them get out of the injury or when they're not injured, it will teach them how to be more efficient in their technique in a way that they've never learned before.
Yes. And at what age would you recommend this new type of discipline, the Pilates that you are teaching, also to children or only to professional dancers?
I think it should be in schools, in ballet schools that have companies or who don't have companies. So at the age of 15, 14 or 15, I think is when the dancer is mature enough to understand what is being taught to them. So I definitely believe that. And I also believe that ballet companies should have me or somebody like what I do come and do an analysis of the dancers, like I do that for like a half an hour per dancer and check them out and listen to what they have and look at them and go, hey, did you realize that you're actually rotating in when you should be rotating out in this moment? And making a diagnostic assessment to see how my work could help them. And sometimes I do workshops on a whole company where I educate them on different things like how to do a plie in a new way, understanding the way the bone rhythms work in conjunction with your pelvis and your leg bones.
And also, do you apply the same type of class to adult ballet or you change?
I'm always changing. I'm a choreographer. So I always change. Like I walk into a room and I assess who's ever in that room. And then I choreograph or create whatever I feel is needed at that moment. I think because I've been doing this for so long, I can be more spontaneous, like a doctor, and say, oh, well, we should do this, this, and this with this group, understanding where they're at.
So it depends on the people that you have in front of you, and you create the type of class, you choreograph the type of class that upon the technique and the age that you have in front of you.
Yes.
And do you work only United States? Do you this Pilates, or you also do it in Europe?
I Stephanie will travel. I do guest teaching. I'm very happy to guest teach in Europe because I miss Europe very much. So I would love to guest teach.
And I really wish that you do that. Really wish,
Thank you.
with all my heart.
Oh, you're sweet, Jean-Pierre.
And have you been artistic director of a ballet company?
Well, no. I coach dancers on artistically and technically,
Yes.
but I have not been a director. I was the director of Ballerina One Woman Play. I also am a producer of the Stephanie Herman TV show.
Yes.
So if you look on YouTube, the Stephanie Herman show, that's an award-winning show for 10 years. And each show is different. Sometimes I'll have dance or music or interviewing people of interest.
Yes.
And it's always different. But no, I usually choreograph for myself. But I'd love to have a choreographer choreograph for me. I'm tired of choreographing for myself.
Have you ever worked with Mikhail Baryshnikov?
Yes.
So was he different from Nureyev, from Balanchine, from all those people? He is a different temper. He's a different character, I think.
Yes. But each one of these people had a passion and wanted to work 250%. Baryshnikov, I think a lot of things came naturally for him. And so when I first met him, I'm trying to think of a word that describes him. He was very free and easy and fun and flirtatious, and he had it together, you know.
Yeah.
So the ego, I think, was different than maybe Nureyev's ego.
Yes.
And now watching Baryshnikov as he's maturing through injuries and still performing, I see a similarity between the two of us in reference to, you know, I still am performing and choreographing for my age limit,
Yeah.
or my body limit, I should say, but I still have the spirit of dance that I feel I want to get out there. And I really respect, you know, how he has grown as an artist and a great role model for dancers that, you know, when they get older does not mean that they have to stop. They just have to be more creative and clever with the choreography. And, you know, he also has very good emotional, he's good at acting.
Yeah.
And so.
Do you agree with what with what is applied as a main rule in some ballet companies in Europe, that dancers should stop?
Sorry, something dropped. That's okay.
should stop dancing at the age of 40 and should retire. I don't agree with this. What do you think about this rule in Europe?
I think it shouldn't, it can't be black and white. It can't be, okay, well, she's 40 or he's 40 and he should still dance, but he's not being able, he can't get his leg up as high as he used to. He can't turn, he can't do the choreography that is wanted. So let's say you have this dancer, his name is John, and John's now 41. And John has had some back injuries, and John can't lift as well. And John can't get his back up, his leg up in arabesque as well. and the choreographer wants the leg up and wants the dancers up that he's partnering, and he sees that this person can't do it. So the choreographer is not getting what he wants out of this dancer. Now, I was with Cirque Ballet where they did protect dancers that turned 40, that they weren't kicked out, but they would get different roles. And the choreographer would have to choreograph for them, or they would be able to dance in the opera. And sometimes dancers had a hard time moving into that role, but their bodies could not do the 5 pirouettes and lift the dancer and leg up anymore. So if you have a technician and the technician is not being able to do the technique, it'd be great if you could choreograph something for them. You know, like with New York City Ballet, when the dancers got older, they would turn into more of an acting role or a character role. And Balanchine kept them. He didn't really let them go, but he did something. But because there aren't that many character roles, the dancer might feel bad they're not dancing as much. So
Or
I
maybe
think
it could be given a chance to those dancers who are supposed to retire, maybe to teach in the ballet company, or to be offered a different type of work in the ballet company.
right. I have a great idea. They should start a senior company and get different choreographers as a senior company. You know, like I'm 71 and I'm still dancing. And it's because I'm choreographing my own pieces. And I know, yes, I can do this, but I don't get the leg up in the arabesque. So I don't put that in the choreography. So I know Yuri Killian had a dance, a company for seniors. And if you have choreographers that would like to work with these mature dancers that now have a different way of expressing themselves, then that could be a great idea.
Do you think that a ballet technique has evolved in the last 3-4 decades? Which type of technique do you prefer when you see the old videos or you see the young dancers of today?
You know, I was very lucky to work with George Balanchine technique. And I feel like it's very different than the Royal Ballet technique, which is more square and strong. And Russian technique is, you know, building of the calf muscles so they can jump higher. And I loved the Balanchine work, allowing the hips and pelvis to rotate, to lift the leg high up in the air. And when I see dancers now, I mean, I'm just like, wow, look at what everybody's doing. And the technique and the emotions are so beautifully melded.
And what would you recommend to the teachers today to apply only ballet technique or to mix the Pilates and some modern work in the academies, ballet academies, or, you know, like if you go to the Opera of Paris Ballet School of Nanterre, we have a beautiful ballet school there. And but now they are starting to discover what is the Pilates and the modern work. Only now, but until a decade ago, they would do only classic. So what would you recommend to the teachers of today? Could they mix those two disciplines together?
So I was very lucky when I was younger. I got into the High School of Performing Arts. And in High School Performing Arts, we were taught acting, modern dance, ballet, character dance, Indian dance. And I felt like that made me more worldly as an artist. And so I think it depends on what the ballet company wants. If the ballet company wants them to be a little rigid in just a certain kind of choreography, then, yes,
Yes.
stick with what you're just sticking with it. But I really believe by giving more education to the students on what the body can do, and what the emotions can do, can be very helpful. So in Pilates or Pilates ballet, with what I teach, it just made me smarter and makes other dancers smarter, and you can apply it better. And to add other elements of jazz dance and modern dance, it just gives the freedom of movement that can help the rigidity of the technique meld with the emotions that need to come out from the soul. So I have a story. Like 15 years ago, my knee was so bad that they wanted to give me a knee replacement. And I said to the doctor, I'm not ready to have a knee replacement. And the doctor said, oh, I forgot who I was talking to. I said, I want to find a way to heal my knee. So that's when I started learning about the bones and the skeleton and how it moves through dance. And I started learning it and applying it. And now 15 years later, I have no pain in my knee whatsoever. And so that's kind of where I'm at with teaching others, is if you understand certain things about your body, you can prevent injury, you can heal injuries, and you can become a stronger, more efficient dancer.
So I think that the way that you are teaching Pilates, the way you teach your classes, are also mixed not only with the physical power, but also to the mental control as a sort of yoga, in order that you can heal the pain that you have in your body while you are working the movements. And whenever you feel some pain, you know how to medicate this pain during the work. And I think this is the type of work that you are doing now.
So
right.
I believe that dancers want to be good and want to do 250%. And with that mentality, what happens is you keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, and you're not in the moment.
Yes.
And being in the moment is being in touch with what you're feeling. So sometimes I see dancers at the ballet bar doing their tendus and trying to be 250%. And they never organically warm up as well because they're always pushing, and their mind is watching and judging themselves, but they're not in the moment. And I think if you allow yourself to breathe and be in the moment, and maybe in the very beginning not to be 250%, but get in touch with what you're feeling as you're trying to make your technique good. But if you push it too much, then you get out of your body and you're not in your body.
Yes, you have to be inside your body, not outside.
Right. That could be problematic.
Yes. And what is your wish to the young dancers that are watching you today? What is your message as a professional artist that you would like to say to the young dancers? For young dancers today, they have something like 18, 19 years old, and they have a full career, maybe 2-3 decades of full of dance. So what is your wish that you would like to give them, or advice that you would like to give them?
I have My advice to you, dancers at any age, you've got to love yourself and you've got to respect yourself. And I know a lot of times you want to be a dancer for your teacher or for your director. And that's great. Yes, please your director, please your teacher, but you've got to please yourself first. So like if the teacher says, I want you to do 5 pirouettes, and you're trying, you can't. It's important to take a moment to stop and think for yourself and realize, okay, how can I approach this? Maybe I need to go and practice in the back a little bit, or maybe I need to lift my leg a little higher and just try 1 pirouette first. And if that works, then try 2. And I think when you start to please so much, you let go of pleasing yourself. And I think that's really important, that you own who you are as you're pleasing, because you're always going to please, you're pleasing an audience and things, but it's like when you're on an airplane and they say to you in the very beginning, put the oxygen mask on you first and then the child.
Yeah.
So if you take care of you first, then the
Yeah.
audience
Yeah.
will be pleased.
Yeah. While
And
the poor child is without any mask.
Oh, well. The second thing I'd like to share is, if you have a dream and your dream is not coming true, then stop for a moment and reanalyze how you can make your dream come true. So don't keep hitting your head in the wall if it's not working. Stop a moment and rethink. Let's say you want to keep dancing and you're getting older, and no dance company will take you because you're too old, but you still want to dance. So how can you keep dancing? Oh, well, maybe you can choreograph something for yourself, or maybe you can volunteer, or maybe, you've got to think outside of the box sometimes of how to do what you love.
Yeah.
And not feel like you've got to stick to
Yes,
what you
one thing.
one road.
Yeah.
There are many roads, and I feel I have done that a lot in my life, and that's what I'm going to be sharing in my memoir too.
Yes. And you keep doing your training every day?
Well, I'm teaching every day, and so when I'm teaching, I'm doing
Also
it with
doing the
dancers.
movement.
I'm doing the movement, and unless I'm doing private work, then I'm mostly analyzing like a therapist and coach.
Yeah. And how many hours per day?
I take Pilates and I take ballet. I take both Pilates class and ballet class too.
And how many hours per day do you work?
I probably teach about 3 to 4 hours physically teaching, and then maybe I'll take 1 Pilates class twice a week and 1 ballet class once a week. But when I'm teaching, I'm doing the movement with them, so I'm kind of like working out.
And do you have a special food regime, or you eat everything?
I'm lucky. I have a good metabolism, and I have a husband that loves to cook, and he goes to the farmer's market every week, and he cooks really healthy, and I love to cook too when he lets me. And I'm more of a spicy creative cook, and he's very engineer-like, very efficient and beautiful food. And so I just don't overdo breads and sweets because I love savory food anyway.
So, Mrs. Stephanie Herman, I do hope that one day we might be able to meet, because you are a very interesting person and there is a lot to learn from you, especially for me. You will be a wonderful teacher to me also. And
I can come to Rome, let's see, in the summertime or the springtime.
so you are always welcome whenever you wish to come and visit Rome. The red carpet is waiting for you. There are no problems. So a little question. Do you give me the permission to upload this interview on YouTube and on Ballet International?
Yes.
Okay.
And if you send it to me, I'll also send it out to other groups if you want me to.
I can send it to you on your email by WeTransfer. I don't know if you know that. It's a website that I can upload the video directly as it is on your email. And you have about a week to download it on your computer.
Okay, sounds good.
So I will do that.
Right.
So it was a great pleasure and a great honor to have you online. And you are always welcome to contact me whenever you wish. And your advices to me are always precious.
Oh, you're a sweetheart, Jean-Pierre. Thank you so much. And Ballet International, thank you so much for your interest too. And hope to meet you all soon.
Okay, so thank you very much. And many kisses. And my best regards to all your family.
Thank you so much. And au revoir.
Au revoir. You speak French?
Oui, j'habite à Genève pour 5 ans.
Oh. You just said that at the end.
No, but I get shy. So this English is better. Yeah.
English is better. Okay.
So if you want to give my website, it's pilatesballet.com.
Okay. So can you repeat that?
www.pilatesballet.com.
Okay. So like that, the people will take note about the website and they can get in touch with you directly.
Right. You can also give my email. My email to give them would be stephanie@pilatesballet.com. And I could send that to you too.
Okay. But you can also, if you wish, on Ballet International group, on the main wall, you can write all this.
Okay.
Like that, the members will read all this.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll say, if you were able to listen to my interview, here's my information if you need to reach me.
No problem.
Okay.
Thank you again.
All right.
Thank you again. Merci beaucoup. Merci
Merci.
beaucoup.
À bientôt.
À bientôt. Bye
Au
bye.
revoir.